Thanks all for joining. Yeah, it's really my pleasure to host today Iman and Moses, who are working at FIND to present their work. Just, well, I guess the recording is started. I hope it's fine with you all that we record. Otherwise, raise your voice. Okay, for those who don't know Vega, our motto is to build a bridge between science and IT. So we are really all with dual qualifications to help farmers, biobanks, and the like to make the best use of the IT tools. That's really what we do. With 4 pillars, one more around research, one around more clinical development. At the frontier, of course, there is data science, very much oriented also towards supporting labs and lab automation, end-to-end from research to manufacturing, and supported by some geeks to when it comes to integrate the tools, and some CSV guys when it comes to validate the applications we put in place. If you want to see us, we'll be at the Analytica next April. The slides will be available if you want to scan. And of course, we invite you to look at our website to see our upcoming events. But let's go directly into the topic of the day and the stars of the day. I'm very pleased, like I said, to host Iman and Moses. Thank you so much for accepting to make that presentation. Topic is navigating the complexity in biobanks, which is definitely complex. I can witness that for sure. And they'll present the FIND Biobank dashboard to show how it serves their purpose. Iman, French Moroccan, molecular biologist by training, master's degree in global health. She joined FIND in 2020 and working as senior associate currently there. She's doing a lot of things, a lot of responsibilities, which are all aimed at maintaining impeccable management of FIND extensive collection of clinical samples. She also oversees the distribution of the samples for the research in diagnostics development, and her commitment lies in infectious disease control and the adjustment of access to diagnostics and medicines in low and middle income countries. Moses, who is also here, is a data analyst from Kenya, a strong background in data management, statistical analysis, and machine learning. Made significant contribution across different areas. He played the role of data scientist. He plays the role, as data scientist at FIND, which stands for the Foundation for Innovative New Diagnostics. He was also data manager at Cambridge Wellcome Trust, data analyst and statistician at Low Income Financial Transformation. In each of the positions, he brought innovation, automation, insightful data analysis to the forefront. His background is in statistics, and he also extended his skills towards spatial data and machine learning. Now the floor is yours, Iman and Moses. I think Iman, you're going to start, so I'll stop sharing and. You go.
Thank you. Didn't have in the.
Okay. Let's share from my computer.
Okay.
You have the same problem as me.
So,
Can I share? Okay.
So our technical test was not perfect.
It's okay.
Sorry, everyone. So it just takes. But it's good to have a backup plan.
Moses in the meantime, if Ilya has the possibility to share for after. Is it blocked
And maybe it's
also?
better when we can just share from machine.
Moses, do you see the sharing button on your screen, or do you have the same problem just to?
You are muted, Moses.
Yes, I can be able to share. I can see the share button.
Okay.
Otherwise, Moses can share. So,
I prefer to use from here because I want to go through the slides myself, but then when Moses will be speaking, we can give him the share.
Thank you, Moses, for the test. So stop sharing for now. And
Thank
Okay.
you.
Share the screen.
Super. Thank you.
Okay.
So hello everyone. Can you hear me properly? I guess yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Warren. Thank you, Daniel, for the very nice presentation, and thank you all for having us for this morning. So we will take some time to tell you a bit more about FIND and more specifically the biobank team of FIND and what we do in the biobank team. And also just try to show you some of the challenges we were facing. And as Daniel said, in this very complexity of biobanks, and how the work, the dashboard we developed with Vega was extremely helpful. And so we will have a question section at the end, but feel free to post any question during the presentation in the chat. Sorry. I'm just going to take my water next to me. Okay. I'm trying to go to the next slide. Okay, I think, yeah, perfect. So first of all, what is FIND? We are a global non-profit organization with its headquarters in Geneva. And we have country offices in India, Vietnam, Kenya, and South Africa. Our main goal is to ensure equitable access to reliable diagnosis around the world. And we are a WHO collaborating center for laboratory strengthening and diagnostic technology evaluation. We were created in 2003 at the 56th World Health Assembly. And it was really in response to the need for innovative and affordable diagnostic tools for diseases, specifically in low and middle income countries. And it turns out that diagnostic research and development for diagnostic tests actually require the availability and accessibility of well-characterized and high-quality clinical samples. However, biomaterials from diseases that are endemic in low and middle income countries are actually quite difficult to find by researchers. So this is just giving you a little bit the context of how FIND started and why FIND started to biobank samples. This is just a timeline showing some key dates. So we were created in 2003, and in 2007, we started collecting our first samples. It was at first samples related to TB, so really samples collected from patients with tuberculosis. And between 2007 and 2013, we extended our collections to other diseases, starting with malaria. And in 2013, we put all the samples together in a centralized biorepository in the US. And in 2019, we started our first FIB site in Peru, and we will tell you a bit more about this in a bit. So FIND is subdivided in what we call disease teams or health programs. You have the tuberculosis team, the malaria and fever team, the neglected tropical diseases team, HCV and HIV, antimicrobial resistance. And then we have what we call cross-cutting teams, and the biobank team is one of them. So really, the biobanking activities that we do at FIND are to support the goal of FIND, which is to make sure we have diagnostic tests available everywhere in the world. The structure of the biobank collections that we have are also a direct reflection of the structure of FIND. So we have disease-specific collections. We will collect samples for HCV, samples for TB, samples for malaria, samples for Lassa fever, and so on. The map that you have here under your eyes shows you all the origins of the samples we have at the moment in the biobank. And you can see that most, if not all, of our samples are collected in low and middle income countries. And then we ship everything to the central biobank in the US, which is represented by the big black dot. And then all these blue dots that you see are what we call the FIB sites, the FIND Integrated Biobanks. So how to explain this? In 2019, we basically started to innovate a little bit the way we were biobanking. And we decided that instead of collecting samples in low and middle income countries and shipping them to the repository in the US, it would be good to actually build biobanking capacity inside. So store the samples where we collect them as well. And from that thinking, we started having smaller biobanks, the FIB sites. At the moment, we have one in Moldova, one in DRC, one in South Africa, one in Peru, and one in Nigeria. And we will keep on expanding these FIB sites. A minute. Sorry. These FIB sites are also chosen to be in places that are strategic for pandemic preparedness. So the idea is really that we have this biobanking capacity in these countries, and it's ready in case of outbreaks. And like these countries can rapidly scale up efforts to collect samples from patients and try to control outbreaks and try to better manage pandemics in the future. So in 2024, we will have another site in Ghana and most likely also another one in India. All these biobanks together, so the central repository in the US and the FIND Integrated Biobanks in LMICs, represent today around 600,000 samples. We have samples for malaria, COVID-19, tuberculosis, hepatitis C, what we call acute febrile illnesses or fever, antimicrobial resistance, and also Lassa fever. And soon the monkeypox collection, which is ongoing in DRC, will also be open for distribution. And okay, distribution is actually the key word, because we really collect all these samples for the purpose of distributing them to anyone that is working on diagnostic tests. It's really not for the purpose of just storing them forever in our freezers. And that's why we really want to increase the visibility of these samples, which actually before the dashboard was quite difficult. This is just showing you a little bit, some numbers around the distribution. So as I said, we really distribute to anyone working on developing a diagnostic test. It's really both institutions that are public or private. It can be, groups, research groups in universities, or proper diagnostic manufacturers. And we really distribute these samples to all the different stages of diagnostic development. So some of the projects are really at very early stages of diagnostic development, and others are closer to releasing the device into the market. On the right, you have just this little gray table, and it shows you the number of samples we distributed in 2021, 22, and 23, and roughly altogether it represents around 15,000 samples. The number of samples for one single request can really vary a lot. Sometimes for one project, the researcher will only need 1 or 2 samples, and sometimes they will need a bigger number of samples. And on average per year, we fulfill around 30 requests. Okay, so we actually, if you try to zoom out a little bit, there is a very specific sample workflow from the collection at site to when it's actually distributed to a diagnostic developer. And all of these stages are managed by the biobank team of FIND. And not only our samples are scattered in different countries, but also our team is scattered in different countries. So Warren, our head, is based in South Africa. My colleague Moses is based in Kenya, and I am based in Geneva. And so the people in the biorepositories, either the central one in the US or the FIB sites, they really, once the collection is completed and the samples are stored for long term, they really just pull in and pull out samples based on our demands, and everything else is managed by us remotely. If you just go back to what I was saying at the beginning, that it's really crucial to have samples to do research and diagnostic tests. Not only you need samples, but you need them to be very well characterized. A sample without the associated data is really useless. So imagine all these samples, or all these 600,000 samples that we have in our freezers. Each of them comes with a huge amount of associated data, and this data is stored in different tools. We have a very powerful laboratory information management system, which is Open Specimen, which is very key for us because it enables us to virtually track the samples, and that's crucial since we are not physically with the samples. Then we have obviously all the clinical data related to the samples, which often comes from paper CRFs. And then we store a lot of data still in Excel, And we use R to kind of bind all of these together. Now you know that we have all the samples that are distributed. And if you look at the distribution in C, we have a very specific process as well. From when a requester submits a request for samples to when we actually distribute it. It has to be, we really want to distribute the samples, but we have to be cautious to who we distribute them and so on. So we have a review process, an internal review process that is very specific and that we have to follow. Just so before the dashboard, we would manage some of this review, so receiving the request after submission from the requester and managing the review of it and so on in Salesforce. And now we do everything in the dashboard. And this material request review process that I'm talking about, it's, as I said, a real process in C. And we have these internal review committees that we call Specimen Bank Review Committee, SBRC, that are really a group of FIND and, when applicable, FIB site employees, which will review and then either approve or reject a material request based on what is the project and so on. These groups are disease specific, so again, reflecting the organization of FIND, you will have the tuberculosis SBRC, the malaria SBRC, the hepatitis C SBRC, and so on. And it's really crucial that SBRCs make their decisions in an informed way, so they really need to know what is available in the biobank. And really, before the dashboard, that was not the case at all. So SBRCs were really voting requests just based on the description of the project and not really knowing if we had a lot of the samples requested or not, etc. And the dashboard has been really key in this. Just like the little diagram on the left, it's just again to illustrate the fact that within this material request review process, we have like different entities. So we have the SBRC on one side, we have the requester who submitted the request on the other side, and then we have the biorepository on the other side. We can also like name other entities like the procurement and logistics team of FIND, the legal team because of signing the material transfer agreements, etc. And then there's the biobank team in the middle who really manages and coordinates all of this. And pretty much every entity has had its own tool where to manage the information, where to put the contract, where to do this. And the dashboard is really trying to kind of put everything in the same place. And with this, I will leave it to Moses. So, Moses, do you want me to just go on the slides, or you want to share your screen?
So I've already started sharing. So thank you, Iman and Daniel, for the great introduction. So as we have said from Iman, one of the main work of the biobank is to distribute samples, and the FIND Biobank dashboard that we have developed with vigor only started. It only went to production in June this year. So before that, we were using a simple form sack tool that was embedded in our website. Actually, I managed to just grab a screenshot of how this looked. It was just a tool with some, maybe a few questions on the disease area that you want your samples to, and the purpose of your project. And this tool was connected to Salesforce, and we were all this information.
Usually comes back.
Positive, thank you, Matt.
Here it is. Moses, you
Okay,
froze for a few seconds.
So I think my Wi-Fi dropped. Can you be able to see my screen?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So, so apologies for that. So we had this form stack tool that we were using before the dashboard. We we had embedded it into our FIND website, and so this is where the requesters will go and they will key in a few information, and this information will be sent to Salesforce. So one of the things that we saw with the form stack tool is that we had a lot of duplicated information. You can imagine every time a requester will come back to us, they will have to, let's say something simple like the address of their company. So since this tool didn't have a way of remembering if this is like maybe Moses is coming and my address is still the same, so you have to enter that information again. And also other things like maybe your name, email addresses, and things like that. So, and with this, we wanted something that users could register. Let's say if you have an application, just think of any application where you have an account. And if you want to do anything within that application, you don't have to maybe change the basic information every time that you want to maybe do something within the application. So the form stack tool was also limited. So you could imagine with something like a dashboard developed with the normal programming languages, maybe Python, C++. So it has a lot of interoperability. You can extend it, so you can connect it with many databases. And then, so since right now we are also living in the age of APIs, so you can connect it with so many tools. So this is one of the things that we also wanted to capitalize on. So with the form stack, we didn't have anything to, we didn't have a way of doing this. And also something like we didn't have even a way of showing the number of samples we have. And if we did, it will be a separate tool. And then maybe you could go to maybe a separate tool that is visualizing the samples and come here and do the request. So the dashboard was kind of a way of, we wanted to put this all together. So although this tool was limiting, so since it's simple, we can edit it on our side at the biobank side. So it worked. So that's one of the advantages. So you are able to service material requests. And then it was simple and inexpensive in the short term. So maybe the initial investment. So because it's just a recurring subscription. So after this, so we went to the dashboard, but before going to the dashboard, I want to talk a little bit of the main reason that we wanted a dashboard where people could visualize their sample. So as you have seen from the form stack tool, there is no way of knowing what exactly FIND has. And actually, this slide, I could have called it preparation of the data that goes to the dashboard. So I felt that it was important. Yeah. Hello?
Sorry,
You can.
I thought sorry, I just thought we were not seeing the right slide, but it's okay.
Okay, thank you. So, so this is one of the things that we normally do at the biobank, and it's normally done by the data person in conjunction with the disease teams. So this is, as Iman was talking, we collect a lot of information. Just imagine the normal clinical research, maybe project, you have demographics, you have clinical information, maybe simple tests, and then you have lab tests. And maybe you end up with a data set, maybe with over 5,000 columns. And you don't want to put this into the dashboard with a filter where you have filters, 500 filters. So that will be a lot of information to someone. So we have something that we call specimen characterization. And this is where we check all that information, so normally done by the disease teams, and they normally try to see what really is important to diagnostic manufacturers, so with respect to the disease that they are working on, and they develop simple algorithms which we use to classify patients based on the disease criteria. And this is the data that we normally feed into our LIMS, so Lab Information Management System. We use a tool that is called Open Specimen. And this is where the FIND Biobank dashboard normally gets its data from. So one of the databases. So that is one of the processes that we do that precedes the actual visualization in our tool. So the FIND Biobank dashboard was developed by Vega. It's a Dash application, and this Dash application communicates with several tools. So we have Open Specimen. So this is where we keep our clinical data and specimen data. So specimen data, things like type of specimen and maybe the time it was collected. We normally call them visit events in terms of a clinical research that do follow-ups for patients. So the country that it was collected, and we also add in clinical information and lab tests that we normally get from another clinical database that is called Open Clinica. So we also have Salesforce. So we are still using Salesforce to manage our material requests. So this is normally where the submission, when you request samples, let's say you request 20 TB positive and 20 TB negative, that information will be saved into Salesforce. But the tool that we use to capture this information is a form tool called Form Titan. So this is maybe an example of how this looks on the technical side. And let me see, and then, so after the development of this, so we get our dashboard. So when you log in into the dashboard, you have a page where you can sign in, and when you sign in, we have a few tabs. We have a few buttons. And one of the buttons that is interesting to the requester is the catalog button. So when you press the catalog button, you are taken to the diseases. And so this is one of the disease TB. I just grabbed a screenshot to just show you how it looks. And so this is the filters that I was talking about. So you don't want to push all the clinical data into the dashboard such that you have 500 filters. So this is the filters that we have, and the users can kind of play with the filters to see the number of the kind of samples we have. And depending on the type of the project that we have, they can be able to see if we have such samples or we don't have them. So when we compare FormStack to the simple FormStack tool that we had with the dashboard, we can already see a few advantages, even maybe many advantages. One of them is the number of features that you can be able to add. So let's say with FormStack tool, it's just a simple form that you key in your information and you hit submit. But with the dashboard, it's dynamic and and within real time you can be able to see what we have it also has more features. So like maybe the connection with the limbs, and so it's a little bit more, it's more advanced than the FormStack tool, and this enables the requesters to have more insights of what we have done before. And it also helps with FIND, where we are able to increase the visibility of the samples, the kind of specimen, the kind of characterization we have. So that was also another thing that we are happy that the dashboard is helping with, the visibility of the kind of the data we have in our database and the kind of specimens that we have in our biorepository. So let's see. So we faced a few challenges developing this. So obviously one of them is time, but I didn't include it. So mostly if you have worked in a project, you know, sometimes it goes over the time that you had planned, but we are happy that the tool is working. And the other thing is that when you are working with the project, you find that some of the tools that you had selected earlier are limiting to your work. And this is one of the feedback that we have received from bigger team. And upon discussion, we have seen that it's really a limitation to us. And then, and obviously, and I think this is just a repetition compared to FormStack, the development cost and time are vastly greater. So if you see with the FormStack tool, it's something maybe that you can develop within a few hours or maybe 2 days, but with the dashboard, actually maybe 6, maybe even a year, or maybe 6 months if you have everything with you. So I don't know. So what are the next steps for the dashboard? So since it's an ongoing work, so currently what you are working on, and number one goal is we don't have all the diseases currently. So we want to add the diseases that we haven't added, and since FIND now is in pandemic preparedness. So I know we'll be adding more diseases, and we'll be reaching out to Viga to make the dashboard have maybe more specimens that are available for diagnostic manufacturers. And the second thing that we are working now, we are adding more features. So as the requesters are interacting with the dashboard, so there are some suggestions that we are taking. And also on the biobank side, that we are also the users of the dashboard, as we are interacting with it, we are saying that maybe some of the features that we were doing the FIND Biobank dashboard. So I think what next? So for the team that is here, I don't know if Iman, if you can, you'd like to present this and maybe with the voice of thanks.
Thank you, Moses. Actually, it turns out that we were faster than expected, so I think it would be nice if you actually do a little demo of the dashboard.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear me?
Let me stop. Okay, thank you.
Can you hear us, Moses?
Moses? Are you here?
Can you hear us, Moses? No. I think maybe we can do this demo, but maybe there are already questions while we're waiting.
Okay, I think Warren asked me to share the dashboard. The only problem is that I can try to connect from your computer if I remember my password.
I mean, you can do it from your computer as well. It's still connected.
Yeah, it's true.
It's still in the meeting, but you cannot share your screen.
I don't think so. Yeah. Let me double check again.
Okay.
No, I cannot. But hopefully I will remember.
Okay.
Warren, can you share your screen, Warren? Maybe you could make.
Yes, please. We can also go through some questions while I try to.
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, Warren.
Yes, Warren.
Hi.
Great. Hello, everyone. Thank you for the session. Thank you for Vega. I just want to express my sincere thanks. It's unfortunate that Vega has to work with the biobanking team at FIND because we've got so many requests. We are we're like a child with a wish list, and we just keep on asking and asking and asking. And Daniel and his team, they are very patient. When Moses referred to the time delay, it was mostly us. In fact, it was us. That keeps on adding to the things that we would like to see on the dashboard. And Vega as a proper champ, they would just fulfill our wishes. So it's been such a pleasure to work with Vega. We work with a number of vendors within our projects, but to be honest, Vega is the most patient vendor group of team members that I've ever come across, and I don't even want to go to the fact that with every problem that we present them, they come up with a solution. It's so rare to find, and I really appreciate that. Thank you, Vega. Over.
Thank you, Warren. I didn't expect such. You make me feel the same with us. I mean, it's a pleasure, and the things you want to add to the dashboard makes and the content makes it why it's valuable today. So we can all be proud of the result.
Good.
Moses, you're back. On mute.
Thank you. So let me give a little tour of the dashboard. And so this is it. And when you click there, sign in. So for anyone who wants to request an account with us, especially diagnostic researchers and manufacturers, you can just click sign in and then click request an account. So for me, I already have my account and I can already sign in. So when you sign in, let's just give it a second. So yeah, you get this page with the gray buttons and the blue catalog ones. And when you press there, so you'll get, so this is what I was talking about. You get all the diseases that we have added and we want to add more. So I can just give with a recent disease that affected everyone. So let me choose COVID since it's still fresh on our brains. Let's just give it to load a little bit. So I think I should get my money back from my ISP. So my internet is not loading it. We usually have a few graphs here. And so let me just say, maybe let me select a few more.
While Moses is working through the filters, maybe I can just add something. So the dashboard is really done in a way that we have a different interface depending on whether you are an external person of FIND, so someone that is going to request samples, or if you are someone from FIND who will manage all the material requests, etc. And the view is quite different, and also the requesters don't have access to all the related data and characterization of the samples, because some of the characterization we keep it for us, just to make sure that people don't request this very well characterized sample just because it is very well characterized, and we want them to justify and really specify, for my project I need this data about this and so on. And also SBRC people, the Specimen Bank Review Committee, they also have their account in the dashboard, and whenever they are evaluating a request, they go here and they check the catalogs, and they check what are the availability of the samples and so on.
And Moses is going to get.
Yeah, so it's perfect now. Sorry for that. So as you can see, we have a few filters. So we didn't want to have so many filters that they will confuse the requesters. And we have a few graphs. So maybe for COVID, showing the PCR results that we have versus the number of specimens in the dashboard. And actually, when you, let's say you want to, I'm doing a validation study and I want the survey positive and the survey negative.
He's frozen again. Okay, maybe I will just continue what he was showing. So when you select, when you are requesting samples, you can select based on the filters that you have, and then you can directly choose which samples you want to request, and it will create a material request, which we will receive and which we will manage on our side.
Yeah, so you get something like this. So as you filter down, you get more samples, and maybe your graphs become big. And so for someone who wants to maybe look a little bit more, you can already maybe play with, even with the advanced filters we have for COVID, we have country of collection and things like vaccination status. So for the samples that we collected after the vaccine came out,
Usually not that bad.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Iman, we have a question in the chat here. So the question is, do the FIB sites also use the same application systems for collecting and managing their samples?
So basically, okay, the overall answer is yes, because they don't manage themselves. It's us who does it. So for instance, the COVID-19 catalog that Moses is showing here, we don't have COVID-19 samples in the central repository. They are all in FIB sites, and everything is managed through the dashboard here.
I think it answers the question. There was a if not, but it's a yes. If not doesn't apply.
And we involve the FIB sites when we vote, when we receive a request. So then it will be voted by both the internal SBRC of FIND and the people at the FIB site. Just maybe to add a little bit on this, so the way Moses was showing how choosing samples is done in this dashboard, this really enables that requester can only request samples that we do have, because what we see here is directly linked to the data sets that Moses worked on, which is a reflection that of what is available in Open Specimen. And before the dashboard, we didn't have this. We have a PDF material request form. So requesters would just list which samples they wanted. And then at the time of selection, when we would really start looking into samples, we would realize that we actually don't have the samples that they are requesting. And this is really overcoming this issue.
Moses, you're mute.
Okay, thank you, man. So after the requester goes through the dashboard and select the samples that they want, so we have this results table down here, and then we have these select boxes on the left. And let's say I am doing a validation study, so I want maybe CV positive, and I don't care about vaccination. And then maybe for the CV negative, I also don't care, maybe I don't care about vaccination here. So then after that, so there's this button here, request samples. So it kind of loads and takes you to this page where you put the name of your project, maybe the validation of a test tool. And then you say confirm. Yeah, so it's a little bit loading. So this is, and from this page, we can already see that we have the information of the requesting party, and now and from here you can have, so the requesting party, this is where you have your address, the address of the person who is requesting the sample, and then we have maybe their email. If anything happens, we can reach out to them. So the basic information of someone's addresses and their account. So for the project, this is where you write the title of the project and the reason for specimen request. So for me, I say that it's validation of a diagnostic tool, and I can write a few words. Validation tool. So so the purpose, you write about the purpose and a little bit of the description, and then you select the type of technology that the tool is using. So maybe I could come here and say, choose one. Let's say I say immunoassay, and then maybe choose another one. Something like that, yeah. And then you can say the target population. So which kind of population you are targeting on. And you have the health. and where you are with the intellectual property type of biomarker you are looking for, intellectual property description, short description, and then you have stage of development, validation, and I can say my plan market entry is next year. So, and I would say initial. So, and then here I come to the sample. So this is the request form that we use. So previously we used to send this to the requester in a Word format, and then they will upload into the form stack tool that we showed before. So I could say I want 50 patients here, and I also want 50 patients here. And the minimum number of aliquots per patient, I can say I want 15. I can say I want 3. And also
Your screen became black. I don't know if it's lagging or are you still sharing?
yes.
Maybe stop sharing and share again.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yes,
good.
it's back.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so and then now after filling in information on project and samples, so then we have this page on the MTA. So this is the material transfer agreement form. So you can download it and upload it here. So let's say I will come and say submit. So let me see, phone is mandatory. So this is some of the validation we are able to put in with the tools like this. So this shows that in my details, when it comes to request a party, I didn't have a phone number in my account. And if you place the form, let's say, just do like that, and I can be able to submit now. So when you submit, the biobank normally gets a notification, and after that, when we kickstart the material request process with the disease team and everyone else. Yeah, so that's it on my side.
Thank you, Moses. So yes, with this you have a more specific idea of what is the dashboard and what enables us to do. Also, there was a question in the chat from Sasha regarding if we are planning to open up a potential data snapshot to before actually registering to the website to have an idea of what are the samples we have. And actually we didn't plan to do it via the dashboard, but if you go on our website, I'm sending the link in the chat. On FIND website, there is a page about the FIND Biobank, and there we have a summary that is up to date of what are the samples we have. It doesn't give details, but it's it's less detailed than when you go into the catalogs in the dashboard, but I think it already gives nice summary, so you can easily see if we might have the samples you need or not. And then when you create an account in the dashboard, it's very easy. This takes really not even just a few seconds. And then you are free to have an account and never request samples, but just go through the catalogs and have a look at what we have. And if we don't, maybe one day we end up having what you need. So yeah. We really invite everyone that is using, that is working on diagnostic tests and using clinical samples to go on the dashboard and really actively have a look at what we have there, and so on. Yeah, I think we are done with the presentation, and we would be very happy to take more questions if there are any.
I have some more questions in the chat.
Yeah, okay.
So it's about standardizing the data behind the scene.
I'm just going to read the question to make sure I have it. I can add that one. I think this is a question for Moses.
Moses, do you get the question? So the question is, I can imagine that you had to perform a strong effort to standardize the data in Open Specimen, in Open Clinica, before showing them in the catalog. Question is, what type of standardization and how do you plan to manage this standardization in the long run? That's the first aspect.
Yeah, so actually that's a good question. We have been really struggling with this. So at FIND now, we have what we call legacy studies. So these are studies that were taken before the studies that took place before. We had good databases such as Open Specimen and Open Clinica, and even right now we added Azure services. So right now we are really working well, even with the CRF management. We have the data team that is ensuring maybe if they are, so when you do clinical research, you see that for every clinical project, you have repeating questions, maybe questions regarding with maybe the clinical test that you immediately get when you go to the hospital, demographics, and we just want to standardize things like column names on those data sets. And now also, since we have on the side of databases, I can say we are doing really well right now. And we haven't had any problems for the study that we are doing now, but for the study that we did earlier, we worked for, actually, when I joined FIND, I found this project ongoing, and it was really a difficult project trying to, you can imagine, standardize even things like column names. It's something that you have to do manually. You have to come up with an Excel sheet with all the diseases, and you kind of align them, and then you use a lot of maybe scripting languages like R or Python to somehow come up with one big data set that can be uploaded in a database, and that can be used by the dashboard for visualization. So I think in the past we were doing this, we were not doing this really well, but now we have learned our lesson, and moving forward, we are managing this the way I think that is giving us less problem as we continue.
Thank you, Moses. The second part, and Mark, precise if you want something more precise. The second part of the question is about patient consents and how it's taken into account in the visualization of the samples and availability of the samples.
Yeah, that's actually a very like we are actually working on this at the moment. So if I understand correctly your question, you're basically saying that because of all these multiple collections in many different countries, it means that we have different informed consents for each of these collections, and it means that all the samples cannot be distributed for the same purposes because the clauses in the consents might be different. And yes, that's true. I mean, we have a template informed consent at FIND that we tried to always use the same one for all our collections, but based on the legislation of the country or just the ethical requirements of the collection side, we always had to adapt a little bit the template. So it's true that from collection to collection, you may have differences. For instance, you cannot it's not always allowed to use the samples for any related genetic analysis, sequencing, etc. And this is something we have been checking on that before distributing the samples, just by having a look at the informed consent before selecting the samples for this specific project. And now Rujita, who is here in the call, is working with us for some time, and she has been working on a project to analyze all these informed consents and pull all the clauses in a data set that we will integrate in our currently existing data sets, and then include that directly in our sample selections. And Warren, I think you wanted to complete on this.
Yeah, thanks, Iman. Maybe just I want to add to what Moses was saying, about the different data sets across diseases and collections. I just want to mention that this is really not unique to FIND. I mean, you can talk to any network or biobanks or biobank. Different data sets is a problem, but it's kind of integral with biobanks. And I must say, with Moses joining 1 or 2 years ago, we started to as I said, collate all these different data sets to move closer to at least minimum number of data sets per collection. And obviously with a dashboard, we're trying to even minimize that further. And then about the informed consent, this is obviously a very timely topic for us, and it's an issue across biobanks once again. Blanket consents, dynamic consents, broad consents. There's so many nuances when it comes to consenting and the permission stated within a consent form, and the team is really working hard, because we at FIND we are busy positioning the biobank as a center of excellence, and we're really trying to to show our stakeholders, especially our external stakeholders, that FIND is in fact ethical custodian center, or a center that really goes to all lengths to distribute samples in a way that there's true access and benefit sharing with in-country partnerships, and obviously giving back the information to the patient population where where the donation was given. That is part of our repositioning and positioning of the FIND Biobank. So it's a work that's ongoing, but certainly very important and critical to our existence as a biobank. Over.
So, Iman, Warren, Moses, next question is about who are your requesters, which organization and which people, and how easy is it to get the outcomes of the research they do with your samples?
Warren, do you want to take this one?
Who are your typical requesters?
I think you did share a slide. There's around 60% private or for-profit organization, and I would say maybe 40% academia and not-for-profit organizations. And the point that you're bringing up, Stephen, in terms of tracking the outcome, if the reason for the request was in fact achieved, this is something that once again many biobanks are struggling with to get feedback from our requesters, from the sample users. But it's like anything in life, once you get the thing that you ask for, then you don't go back to fill out a survey. And it's really problematic, because it's one of my KPIs, in fact, where I need to report, so many samples per year have been given for, these stages of test development, and these were the results. So it's, if you have any ideas, Stephen, as to how we can better do that, I'm open for discussion, and yeah. So thanks.
Do you have tricks like blinding and blinding data or things like that? I think to push the people to send you the results back in a way or another.
Yes, we always distribute the samples blinded, and then depending on what is the stage of development, the requester may or may not need the blinding before doing the research. However, we have not been very good at when it's not the case, when it's a requester that needs the blinding after doing the research and the test. We have not yet found a way to say, okay, we unblind the data, but you let us know about how the research went. And this is something we really want to work on, and we have started to work on.
But I would assume that eventually it's published.
So
Warren, so
yeah, go ahead, Warren.
Yeah, so the many times when we ship out the samples, the projects have not started yet, and sometimes we find that requesters only use our samples 2-3 years down the line, right? And obviously they request the unblinding data. So it's not a 6-month return of, let's call it, investment, a type of thing. It's you have to be in it for the long run, and by the time it gets published, we may not be able. Well, we may have moved on from following up, but I am always up for putting a challenge to Vega, and I'm thinking now, maybe we can put in a stage gate in the dashboard for frequent requesters. When they come back and we say, hey, you're requesting again, how about that data from last year before you can continue with a request. But just a idea. Over.
You have many follow-up requests based on the results from the first set of requests, so then you can just block them if they don't send the results.
We have
some alarms.
Yeah. So that's one of an optional solution, or partial solution.
Yeah. But I must say, one of my top KPIs is in fact to distribute samples, because we always say, or I always say when I speak to external stakeholders, that the difference between an organization holding samples, collecting it's in a freezer, and FIND is we go through all efforts. We make every effort to distribute our samples, because we want. In fact, we think it's our ethical responsibility to use those samples for the intended purpose that they were, drawn. So I've got two, opposing KPIs. One is I want to distribute as much as possible. Number two, I need to get information back. So I can't really, block a requester when he wants more samples, but I also need the published data. Over.
Any other questions from the audience?
Do you have collaborations with other NGOs like MMV? They're also in Geneva, but they are focused on malaria, but still malaria is one of your topics as well.
Yes, definitely we do. So like biobanking is really a supporting activity at FIND, and FIND does all sorts of collaborations with similar or different organizations, private companies, like literally everything. Like as the biobank team, most of our collaborations, and Warren, you can add on this after, are actually with the sites with who we collect samples. So it's very often more people in academia or like research institutes, etc.
Yeah, so DNDi is also in Geneva, and these are organizations that we frequently reach out to, and vice versa, because I mean it's senseless to to also do what everyone else is doing, and we're seeking collaborations where organizations or NPOs that don't have a biobanking system in place. So many I mean, there's probably thousands of biobanks, let's call it biobanks around the world with millions of samples stored, right? And you know the tracking of the samples and the visualization of the samples goes anywhere from an Excel sheet to the bells and whistles that we find within Vega with the dashboard. But we're wanting to share our experience. We're wanting to say, okay, we've got this down. I mean, we are giving a user-friendly experience to every requester that comes to our site for biomaterial, and yes, we want to share our experience, obviously, with our industry partners. There's no reason for for anyone to be trying to do this, and FIND Biobank is actually living proof that it is possible. Biobanking is very, very complicated, and yeah, we have Vega to thank for that. Over.
Any more questions? I think we're approaching the end, by the way, if we look at the agenda. Okay, big thank again for accepting, for making such a nice presentation, and for what you do in general at FIND. I mean, your mission, your vision, what you do.